best behavior. Can you guys see my Photoshop?
Yep.
What the?
Everything's working.
Hold on. Oh, hold on. My dog is trying to get its toy. Give me a second. You want me to help you? Hold on a minute. Hold on. Create a little wall for you. Everything is working? Awesome. All right. All right, cool. Questions? I got answers. Believe in you. Believe in you guys in the ability.
I was just wondering.
There you go. Good.
I was just wondering if you're on a Wacom Intuos, or
I
you know,
am.
like those flat tablets. Yeah.
No, I'm
Okay, cool.
I'm on a Wacom Intuos small, or Intuos Pro small, meaning that my tablet is very tiny. It's not big.
Yeah.
Because usually people are like,
those are cool. I have a medium.
Yeah. So because usually people are like, oh, you got a Cintiq, right? And I'm like, no, not at all. You know? And then they're shocked. They're shocked to find out that I don't have a small Intuos.
But a Cintiq doesn't make the artist.
Huh?
A Cintiq doesn't make the artist.
Nah, absolutely. It's all about convenience and comfort. So the reason why I like the what you call it, the Intuos small is because it allows me to it allows me to paint relatively. It allows me to paint like relatively small. Does it make sense? Like, I don't actually have to. There you go.
With short strokes, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like if I zoom out even one more time. So that's probably like, this is covering the whole canvas, but this is probably only 2 inches of actual distance, you know?
Yeah.
And if I zoom out again, like, that's like an inch, you know? So it allows you to draw straighter lines much easier, especially again if you zoom out. Versus if I had to like do that, like, it's more effort, you know?
Yeah.
And I can even draw straight lines just with my fingers. This is just like, this is all wrist movement right here, usually. It's all wrist movement, but it's just like flick, 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 you know?
Yeah, exactly. I did have an actual question. I was just curious about your setup.
Actual questions? All right, what
because
is
I was
it?
thinking, about what you were saying regarding the only thing that we can control is the quality of work that we put out.
Absolutely.
And then networking.
Yep.
So I was thinking, like, nowadays when stuff is mostly online and remote, I was thinking, like, the networking part. I'm kind of thinking, how does one find a good place to network? I know that I'm not there yet. I need to take care of the quality of the work, but still.
No, you should still network even right now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry. Finish your thought though. I interrupted.
No, I was just wondering what's a good way to approach, like, online networking, I'm guessing, because also I'm not really in the hub of digital art. I mean, sure, there is some in Sweden, but it's mostly in Stockholm. But anyway, everything is digital nowadays, at least until there's the vaccine that everyone is talking about. Um, so I was just thinking, like, if you have any thoughts or tips regarding online networking.
So the way that you should think about this is that, even without like social interaction, you could still network digitally. Like there's Discord, there's Facebook groups, there's ArtStation groups, I think, even there's forums. You just need to be like active. Okay. Like there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's all sorts of ways to get out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the goal is to make it so people know that you exist. That's kind of the big point. Okay.
Okay.
And if people don't know you exist, then they're not going to find your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So for instance, when I first started out, like I was going to events and stuff, but I also like shared all my stuff on blogs. And so in Tumblr, I remember. And people used to find me that way. You know what I mean? And I think when people don't respect that journey, they just assume like, oh man, there's something wrong with me, or like, whatever. Right? There's all sorts of like perspective that gets people a little bit distracted on the bigger point of like networking is about just interaction and of any kind. And so once you start to realize that, like, because like, okay, let me put it to you in a different context. Like, it's not like I would go to hundreds of events every month, I would go to like one or two like large events, maybe 3 on a good day a year,
Okay.
And so what was I doing out of like the other 300 some odd days, 325 or 30 days, I was posting, I was talking, I was engaging with communities, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when people start to realize this, then it starts to go really well, But if you don't,
that makes sense.
yeah, if you don't, then don't be surprised that nobody knows who you are if you're not like at all anywhere,
Yeah.
And pressure here. 75. And pressure here.
If I can add something to that,
Heck no, dude.
Discord is your place. Like Discord is so freaking good.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Oh.
Why listen to me, dude? Discord. No, absolutely. It's I'm just saying like it's okay to just realize that it's hard. You know, I'm actually with you that it's a challenge. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's not as much of a challenge as a lot of people think it is. And even if it was, it's the same playing field as everyone else. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally. Mm.
It's like I remember I was talking with somebody and I was trying to give them some advice similar to what I'm trying to give you. And they were up about like, well, you're established, so that's why it's easier for you. Right? That's what they were saying to me. And I was like, well, how do you think I got established?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like it wasn't like I just woke up established. You know? And I was like, how do you think I got there? It's like a weird argument to be like, well, you're already famous. It's like, what? Like, yeah, you're right. That's why it's easier for me. But you're making it seem like I've always been famous. You know? It's like, of course it's easier when you're more established, right? But you're missing a huge part of like how I got established. I'm trying to tell you how I did that, and you're not listening. You know, that's what I was trying to explain to them. I'm literally telling you what you need to do to make it happen, and you're ignoring my advice. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like once you start to realize this, like I said, it's pretty big. It's pretty game changing for most people because then they still focus on what really matters. Sorry, I'm making some new brushes.
But it's very refreshing, or it's very cool to hear that you know, just be present and join groups and stuff, because I was actually thinking of doing some challenges from a group, like an online group.
Yeah, dude. Oh, what? Photoshop crashed for the first time in a long time. It's because I'm making brushes. Always with brushes, man. Photoshop rarely crashes with me. But I find that whenever I'm making crazy brushes, Photoshop's just like not into it.
Can't handle it.
Especially when they're very, very thin. It's actually in very high resolution, which makes sense. Oh, nice. Save this. Like when they're very high resolution, Photoshop's not into it. I think I could just keep this brush and just get back to painting. But anyway, the dog's going crazy. What are you doing, dude? I might have to take it back downstairs. I thought he wanted to be with me, hang out, but I guess he's like, nah, hell no. I want to like wrestle. Or maybe he does. He's just playing there, man. He's just making weird noises while he's playing. Wrestling a little stuffed animal in his thing. But yeah, like Discord's great, forums, online challenges, absolutely. You just need to be present. People have to know you actually exist. Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
I was thinking, is the consistency in the art style is important into getting big, or I don't know, getting forward to getting a job, something like that. Because I
Yeah.
heard that the best option is to stick in the one art style,
And stick in the what?
one art style. Stick to one thing and try to squeeze the most of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me it's really important to stick to one art style, not because you want to get a job, but it helps you just get good. Because what will get you jobs is being good, you know? And if you focus your
Okay.
time and attention on, um, if you focus your attention on like how to get a job rather than how to get good, you can kind of get distracted on the wrong things. So just always remember it's about getting good, not about getting a
Okay.
job. Okay.
That's good advice.
Yeah, because I know people who got a job and then they hate it, even though it's artistic, right? Like they're like, well, I want to work, so they did like graphic design stuff, or they would do like UI things for video games, right? But they wanted to be a concept artist, but they just thought, I just need to get in and then it'll work out and I'm making money. But once they make money and they start doing it, and they're brought in as a UI artists, and that's all they end up doing is UI art. Their portfolio starts to become overwhelmingly good UI art. They don't have any new concepts that represent what they actually wanted to do in the first place. And then when they try to apply to other jobs with their character stuff, they don't actually have any to show. You understand?
Right.
So then they get more work as a UI artist, and then all of a sudden, 6 years goes by, and they're like one of the most prestigious UI artists, but they don't want to be, and they don't have any portfolio to show for it. I have had many students where this is exactly the case, where they take my class because they're already working, but they're not doing what they wanted to do, and now they're like they're at their wits end.
They want to rebrand, right?
Yeah, and then I remember I had one student. She was she was a concept artist for a mobile studio, but she was drawing like cute little cats and stuff. And then she was just like, I don't want to draw cute cats. Like, don't get me wrong, I like cats and they're cute to draw, but what I really want to draw is like witches and monsters,
Okay.
And then when she was drawing, the first stuff is always like super cute, and she's just like, it's so hard to break the cuteness, like her witches were still like really adorable. So we really had to push her. But I asked her, I was like, what are you're sure that this is what you want to do though? And she's like, yeah, it is. Like my soul die is working on this like cutesy stuff,
Okay.
And then at the end of the class, she was drawing more disturbing witches and more what she wanted. And then I think a month later, because she started to reapply for jobs, she got a job drawing for like more monsters and stuff, and she was super happy about it.
That's inspiring.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, man. Like I had another student who was all about, he was like one of the, like I remember when he took my class, he's like, yeah, I'm like a UI artist. And I was like, oh, okay. And I told him, I remember when I was talking to the class, he brought it up in the context of what I just did there, where I was like, you don't want to just get a job because you'll get it, and then you might regret it. And I was explaining it the same way I'm explaining it to you now. And then he was like, yeah, can I interrupt? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, like I am that person that AJ is talking about. Like, I'm taking this class because I'm a UI artist and I don't want to be. And then he shared his portfolio, and he's like, AJ is exactly right. Like, because like I'm really good at UI, and he showed us his portfolio, and it was true. Like, he was so good at it.
Okay.
But he's like, but I've been doing it for like 10 years, and I'm like, I'm sick of it. He's like, I never wanted to do it. I just did it because I needed to get a job. At least I thought that's the strategy. But he's like, I regret it because I've been like spending so much time doing something I didn't really want. So, going back to your original question, think of it in the context of what I just said. You're sticking to a style. One style is a good strategy to stay good, to get good, right? Because if you're jumping around from style to style, like very often, especially in your early stages of your career, it's really hard to kind of get good. You become too generalized.
I think I'm actually on that stage because I cannot figure out which style I want to refine, and
just pick the one that you like the most. It's easy. It's easier said than done, but like there's ways you could do it where you can just look at the amount of work that you do and ask yourself a simple question. Like, when you look at it, like, let's say you draw lots of realistic stuff, okay?
Okay.
And you look at that and you're like, you're drawing a lot of it, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I just like realism. Because like every time I draw, I always tend to draw that. So maybe I should just stick to it. Like, just know your own personality. And then when you get inspired by you seeing someone else do some other style, like, you can try it out, but just remember where your heart's at.
Okay.
Another alternative is that you look at all your stuff and then you say to yourself, although I have a lot of realistic stuff, I don't really like it. Like, when I think about stuff that I really love, it's more cartoony, it's more stylized, like the kinds of games that I play, the kinds of movies that I watch. So maybe I should just make a complete shift,
Right.
But you just need to make that choice very soon. Okay. And it's okay if you make the choice soon, because you'll get good at it after several years of putting time in it, and then you can change your mind. But you at least will be a master at something. Like, that's where I'm at, right? Like, I'm like doing more stylized stuff nowadays, but just not because I don't know what style I want to do. No, I already know what style I'm really good at. I'm deciding, I'm changing because I can, not because of any like fear of like trying to get employment. No, I already make tons of money just doing what I already am really good at. And
just to keep things fresh and to move.
Well, not just keep things fresh. I'm like trying to actually transition to be more stylized, because I actually I thought about it. I was like, I actually like stylized stuff very, very much. In fact, I think I stayed with realism not because it was my preferred one. I think I like realism a lot, right?
Okay.
But I thought about it. It's like, no, like my favorite stuff is more stylized, right? And I also thought about it like, tools and are just getting so much easier to make very realistic looking stuff. And I'm like
totally
thinking,
agree with this.
Yeah, I'm thinking more utility too. I'm just like, at some point, people will be able to concept realistically, really effectively.
Just photo bash and we will be done.
Yeah, not just photo bashing, like AI and stuff like this, and just like 3D models that are easy to get access to, and you just plug them into. Yeah. I think that there's still, like, when I say realism is like in trouble in terms of design, I don't mean like I could paint this realistically and this will be fine, because this is a more like, it's still kind of like something that's completely invented,
Right. Something new.
Yeah. But I'm saying like realistic, like there's no purpose of like rendering a realistic person anymore.
Okay.
Or like design like a realistic person. Like, I just can't imagine people who can do that. And if they do exist, there's only very few studios who'd want that, right?
Right.
So, but like super style, like having more charm in the image, like having a little more spice, a little bit more energy, I think it's gonna have way more novelty. I still believe my artwork lives in this world, but I want to go even further into it. So I've been like analyzing and studying tons and tons of stylized stuff more and more frequently.
I can totally see this in your artworks with the faces that they are changing,
Oh yeah, man.
with the expressions and the proportions getting wild. I like that.
Yeah, it's only getting easier.
For me, it's easier to think about other artists which I like and which I adore, and I wanted to draw, but with my page which I'm in, it's hard to figure it out. It's for me easier to think about other artworks of other artists.
Yeah, man. But anyway, hope that helps.
It helps. It opens new questions in my mind, but I had to go through it to think about it. So thank you.
Yeah.
On that same note, do you think that applies to s- to to process as well? Like, should one stick to like not necessarily the same process, but like should you stick to something like fairly similar in order to improve more at it?
Yeah.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah. Just think of it like, just think of it as I always talk to you guys about, right? The more you do something, the better you get at it, right? So if you're like changing up your process and you're changing up your style,
Yeah.
and you're changing up your genre, like you're just changing everything, like you're not really getting good at any real thing,
Yeah.
you know? Like if I was practicing to get really good at soccer and I did a lot of like upper body strength exercises and like I played a lot of like ping pong, you know, it's not to say that that won't help at some small degree, but if I'm trying to become a great ping pong player as well as a great, you know, basketball player as well as a great soccer player, you know, like what sport am I actually going to be really good at? There's very few people who can be good at like all of those things. You know what I mean? Like if you look at like a
Yeah.
triathlon athlete, you know, like some of the best in the world who like, you know, they bike, swim, and run. In each of these individual things, right? You know, if they were only to, let's say, bike or let's say to swim or let's say run, if you put them against a specialist, like if you put them against like a Michael Phelps when it comes to swimming, they're going to lose. You see what I'm saying? Like Michael Phelps does
Yeah.
not do triathlons. He only swims, you know, and he is world champion at it, right? Put him against like one of these long distance runners, right? Like these Olympic runners. No way. You know, they're going to destroy him or her, right? You understand? Like they would do good. I don't think they would come dead last. Maybe they do pretty good. They might come dead last, to be honest. but even like if you were to just put them in a round of like just all the athletes and Olympic athletes in the world, and with them, they're probably not going to be able to catch up or keep up. You know what I mean? There might be exceptions, of course, right? There might be a couple like Olympic athletes who do triathlons, right? But it's most likely they started off with the Olympic athlete aspect first and then did other stuff, right? Not so much that they started from triathlon and then become there. I can't imagine there's too many of those people. They could exist. I don't want to say that it's impossible. I'm just saying it's obvious, like just intuitively, to think about like how one person who just focus only on long distance running, that's all they care about, like outmatching someone who long distance running is just part of a trifecta of a race, right? Even though, like, on average, that person would still smoke any one of us, right? The triathlon athlete, right? And I'm talking about like the best. I'm not talking about just whomever. I'm talking about like the best triathlon athletes. But I'm saying if you put the best triathlon athlete against the best individual specialized skill, right? They're going to lose. You know? And so when I say, like, yes, of course you should stay a little more focused, it's because specialization just makes you better, faster, and makes you really good. Like, if you think of, remember when I did that portfolio stuff? You know, remember I was showing you, like, let's click on an image and then see the kind of work that that person has, you know? And remember how it's like consistent usually? Like, they would, like, if we picked a character illustrator, like, we would open up their stuff, and sure enough, we weren't surprised that they had more character illustration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a shock. Like, oh, like, we opened up this one character illustration, and then when I opened it up, they had like photo bashed 3D artwork. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that way. Like, look, I have this Chrome extension, right? So this is like a really cool stylized illustration. So if I click on this and then we see this like realistic, like scary monsters, that'd be weird, right? Like, it's when you click on that image, like when you see the artist, when you first see the artist's work, like on ArtStation, and you click on it. Yeah, my internet's super dog crap right now. I'm not sure why. But even like just this like gross thumbnail that we can barely see, it's more of a stylized environment. This one has a character in it though. But I'm like looking at this and I'm not shocked. I'm not like, whoa, what? Where does all this come from? It's all pretty consistent. But remember, when I clicked on that image in the first place, I was already interested in it because it looked so good. It was a high quality. Because that's all, this is all Ellie cares about. Right? Like, this is her passion. She's focused. And that's all I'm asking you guys to do too. Stay focused. You see this image that I'm doing here, and you go to my actual ArtStation, right?
Yeah, it's all.
There's a lot of similar stuff, yeah. I will say that I do have variation when it comes to characters and creatures, but they usually stay within the same kind of style. There is like a style that is mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's definitely recognizable.
Yeah, but I am divorcing myself a little bit from it more and more. And there's going to be a time where a lot of it is going to be like, it's going to be interesting to see the variety. You know? But that will take time. That all takes time. Because I treat each individual skill as something that takes time.
That's really tough. gotta work on that consistency.
Yeah, it's just because, you know, American culture, and we're just taught to like be impatient. And then we're like impatient, and then we forget everything in the same breath. Or forget what we're waiting for.
Yeah, it's more like I see something. It's like I see something shiny, I go like, "Ooh, that's cool."
Yeah,
Just go to that.
Very consumerism based. It's funny, like, you know, on one hand, we had a bunch of people like pissed at Trump supporters because, you know, they're not wearing masks and they're out going to rallies and stuff. And then Biden wins, right? Or like was projected to win. And you got like people out in the streets not wearing masks, doing a bunch of gatherings. It's like a great example of just like American culture. Like, we're just a bunch of idiots. We just want to win an argument rather than, you know, like pay attention. I saw this really funny TikTok where there was like science in the 60s is like, we landed on the moon, right? And then it pans over to like 2020, like 2020, and it's like vaccines are good for you. You know? And then it goes back to like the 1960s again. It's like, we've discovered, you know, a cure for this, like this crazy disease. And it goes back to 2020. It's like, the earth is not flat. And it just kept on doing that. Like scientists today are just like trying to be like, let's get back to normal. You know, let's have like a basic understanding. And I think that's just like, again, like a great example of just Americana culture. Like I remember when I would travel, I would always ask people from different countries, like, name 3 things when you think about America, right? One of them is that we're unhealthy, like we're all fat. And I'm like, that's pretty accurate. And then the other one was that we're very arrogant. I was like, wow, that's really accurate as well. And then the other one was just a little bit more, it has nothing to do with the personality. It's just more about like our nation's aesthetic. And they were like, you guys have a lot of big stuff. Like stuff are big. Like your cars are big. Your stores are big. You know, like everything's like bigly. You know.
That's true.
And I was like, yeah, and that's like those 3 things consistently get brought up. The next one on like the next ones in line is we have a lot of guns, and then we're also really stupid. Those are like the next 2 things. But those first 3 are the ones I hear a lot, right? And I agree with it. And so that it was funny to me, and also very infuriating to me when Trump got elected, because he literally embodied the stereotype that I felt all these other countries thought of us. He's like fat, he's arrogant, right? And he like always says things are big and huge. It's like, it was like embarrassing. It's like, oh man, it'll be like a French, like looking at the French and just be like, oh, ha, ha, and they're always like that, and they're just always like, you know, like talking with their hands and yelling at each other and just like super like flamboyant, and like being a French native, being like, that's not how we are, you know. Even though like it might be, you know, the stereotype. You know, the Canadians like being always nice, that's a stereotype there, right? I remember when I went to Brazil, my friend was like telling me, he's like, yeah, you Americans think like we always party, you know, because we have one event called Carnival, and you just think that that's all we do. We just party. You know, he's like, we have so much stuff. We have beautiful culture and this and that. And he's like, partying is like the last thing that we do, you know? And he's like, and it makes me laugh, because you guys have some of the craziest parties. Like he talks about like spring break and like Cancun. He's like, and you have like a whole city that's all about partying, Las Vegas, right? He's like, but when you think of America, you don't think of like spring break, you know, you don't think of Vegas, right, as your whole national culture. It's clearly just like a place to celebrate and have fun, right? He's like, but we do here, it's like, because it's different, like because we dress up a little bit, you guys are all like, oh, that's all Brazil does is party, you know, and just dance with their booties out, right? And he's like, it's just like one thing. And I was like, yeah, but you guys do party a lot though, right? He's like, God damn it. All right, so yeah, that's why I was saying like it's just like it's part of our culture, and we are like really convinced. Like I've grown to learn the limits of capitalism, right? Because I think as a nation we've been really conditioned to think capitalism is like fucking that of God, right? Like God was all about it, you know, when ironically he was not, right? If you look at the scripture, especially Jesus, he was like, fuck capitalism. You know, like all of his actions were always like, fuck the rich, you know. But then if you look at our culture, it's like weird, like we're all about it, you know. Like whenever we talk about why we're number one, we always talk about how our economy is doing great, our stocks are killing it, right? In fact, although the COVID-19 is like on the rise, cases are increasing, and then during Thanksgiving week and towards the end of November, we're going to see deaths skyrocket because there's a 14 to 20 day delay with deaths, right? Because it's an incubated disease, you know? So we're going to see it go real big, right? And it's going to be crazy. And we got a president over here who's just like focus on this stupid ass fraud shit, you know, instead of like, and doing all this, like pulling all the stops, doing all this crazy stuff at the last minute, like on his way out. He's like, shred everything. And so like all this is happening. There's like food lines like out the fucking doors, you know, for people who can't afford rent, food, all this stuff happening in some of the more rural areas in our nation. People are losing their jobs left and right, right? People can't pay their mortgages, they're foreclosing. But guess what, y'all? Stocks are killing it, dude. The stocks are fucking shredding, bro. You know, I have stocks. I was looking at them, and I'm at like a 90% return. And I'm just like, that's cool, dude. That's cool. I'd be like people out here dying, you know. And even with my great income that I make from all this stuff, I still can barely buy a home. I can't afford health insurance unless I get a job, right? I don't think I am capable of saving for retirement, you know, like unless I make some huge moves in my life, right? I have to like legit like move, you know, even though I love California, it's just unaffordable. Like it's really hard to afford the lifestyle out here, you know. There's a lot of things that, and I'm sure all of you guys can relate. Other Americans, those of you who aren't, are like, what? You guys can't. You have to pay for health insurance, you know. We still have people who barely can make like a living wage, even though they work their ass off. To say that they're lazy is fucking an insult, right? And there are people who cannot, you know, get a proper education because of their zip code, you know. But dude, the economy, bro, right? And then when we look at like movies, video games, songs, Instagram, social network, it's all about making that cheddar. You know what I mean? It's all about having that lifestyle. It's all about that hustle. You know what I mean? And that's why when I teach you guys, I'm like, don't focus on getting a job, focus on getting good, because you will be happier, right? You will feel more fulfilled because you will get that job, like I mentioned before. But like I've experienced and what I've seen many of my friends experience, once you realize you're playing the game of capitalism just the way that they want you to play, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're going to feel unfulfilled with your life, even though you make 6 figures. I promise you. You know, it's a lie, dude. It's just all lie. Now, don't get me wrong. I consider myself a social libertarian, meaning that I'm actually about like free market and about individual merits and opportunity. Obviously I am, right? I talk about it all the time, right? You guys got to stay focused. You got to put your head into your artwork, right? Don't get distracted, because that's true. You know what I mean? But I'm also very empathetic to people who may not have all the access and opportunities that maybe someone like I did. I still was, you know, wasn't rich when I was growing up. You know, I was still poor and I didn't have like the best upbringing, but it wasn't like so bad. Like I had enough stuff going for me. Like my dad was broke out of the chains that kept him in his poverty. He joined the military, which most people who are poor usually do, because it's a great way to get out. But he did something wise. He went into computer engineering, and so he became really smart with computers. And because of his brilliance in computers, I had access to this technology that made me better with computers. So I have like a natural appreciation for technology and tech in general. right? I'm not scared of it, which helped me become a great digital painter, right? But do you understand kind of like why like this habit's hard to break though? Like I'm trying to say, especially if you guys are raised under this kind of philosophy, even if you're not from America, like this is like an export that America sells, we sell it outside of our country, you know? I think that it's a distraction, and I don't think like I really put a lot of thought to this, and one of the things that really drives me is the idea that we are, creatures, we're like animals on this planet, right? And there was a point where we were just like living off the land as a small group of like indigenous humans, you know what I mean? And then just in the span of like a few hundred years, like we got like rockets in space, smartphone, like computers in our pockets, right? There was just not enough time for our evolution to catch up to the technology, So I think there is something
Totally.
there's something a little bit like we're kind of like sabotaging ourselves, by having, Amazon deliver stuff same day, like it's like we're kind of sabotaging our humanity, and there's not enough time to adjust. So I'm hoping that the smartest of us all are adjusting for us, and helping us against our own vices, But it seems like it's not working as well as I was hoping, because you can see it all over the place online, right? But you guys are my students, so I'm going to make sure that you guys aren't falling into that trap, and always keep your head focused on the right stuff, focus on the things you can control. And when you start to, make a good career for yourself, and you start to do well, that you can remember these words I talked about now, and you can make a choice on whether you want to keep playing the rat race. And if you do, that's great. Like I have friends who love the rat race, and they do really well in their lives. They're very happy. They do feel fulfilled. Some of them may have a lot of capital, some of them don't, but they're happy with where they're at. But I've also a lot of friends who are just like trying to get out of it, and try to live a much simpler lifestyle. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people. I like doing what I'm doing right now, teaching people how to get good. I like to be engaged with my community. I like to do these types of things. I like to be with my family. Like I like walking my dog. It's very like wholesome. It's a sweet little creature. Follows me around. He loves my kids. That we take them to the park together and they like run around chasing him. That stuff is really nice. I like it a lot. I feel more in touch with my humanity when I do these things. Community help, hanging out with family, friends. I mentioned earlier that I put a lot of time into hanging out with my friends. Like I'm going to get Tony Hawk today so I can play with my bud online. Just because I haven't been doing that, I've been like working a lot, but now the classes are ending, I'm like, all right, I need to like hang out with friends again, just so I can like get my head out of like the internet. And I started realizing, especially in the last few weeks with the elections and stuff, I've been watching just lots of politics and stuff. And I remember in 2017 when I did that, it was like the worst and most unproductive year of my life. And I'm like, all right, I'm falling back into it. I need to like stop fucking arguing with people that just clearly are bad faith arguers, like they don't care about like the conversation. They just want to be right, and I'm like, this is not healthy. And also it's not I'm not doing anything good. Nothing productive is happening from this, and so remember these words, my friends. And when you're trying to get that job and you're trying to build a career, and there's like things that will happen that you couldn't foresee, or there's experiences that you weren't favorable, you can at least have faith in the idea that you can control the artwork you make. the people that you interact with, you know, and try to be really good about that. Build good community. And like I said, yeah, enjoy the Discords. Actually, after Thanksgiving, I'm gonna try to revitalize my Discord and try to get back into it. It's gonna be a thing, though. It's gonna take time.
It's interesting because most of the things that you say that you value are kind of like quite staple, and I mean they're very important here in Sweden. Like community
Oh yeah,
and the whole idea of job is not it's not your life, and kind of like giving back. And
yeah.
even
That's
in my
why.
workplace,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish yours.
even in my workplace, we often have initiatives like doing small talks each Friday. So everyone can sign up and talk for half an hour about what they want to talk about. It doesn't have to be connected to what we do at work.
That's cool.
So it kind of builds, like you get to know people better, and yeah.
It builds there is like these like this is funny. Like there's these board games that like you can get, and that's like what they do. They just make you ask questions to people that you care about to get to know them better. But like it's like a board game. Like we have to like gamify it. It's not like you said, cool. Like an initiative. It's not like a cultural thing, right? Like you gotta like look for it. It's not like built into your culture. But yeah, that's why. But that's why Sweden destroys us in so many different things. Quality of life being one of them, right? People are generally happy. And I was talking to a class a long time ago about this, because I had some students who were in Asia, like Asian countries like Japan and China, and I was like, in Korea. I said, these countries are not countries we want to model our society around when it comes to culture. Culture in terms of work ethic, right? Because these are also the same nations that have high suicide rates, high levels of depression, anxiety. These, like, especially Korea, everybody smokes. Everyone's like wound up tight. And there's some other cultural stuff that we could take from them that's really beautiful. Like Japan is really good about they have a sense of honor and pride and respect and politeness with one another. Like nobody like litters, nobody like is incredibly disrespectful to others, right? Like it's very well mitigated. It's just that everyone works their fucking ass off too, like samurai fucking culture, dude. And so but then I always say we want to look at, like, when it comes to quality of life, let's look at like culturally speaking, like let's look at countries like Sweden, Switzerland, Norway, like these countries where they just are very, very friendly and helpful to one another. They don't look at teachers as inferior to doctors, for instance. Like they look at them like on the very same level field. Like these are two very important careers to have in your country, right? Where in America we treat teachers like dog shit, and doctors are like driving fucking Lamborghinis. It's like, it's clearly we got our priorities wrong, but that's what I'm getting at. And like even in history, like we're all about like winners, dude. Like George Washington kicked ass, bro. Abraham like fucking kicked ass, dude. Like Christopher Columbus kicked ass. All these motherfuckers are ass kickers, right? But all of them had skeletons in their closets, right? All of them.
Yeah.
It's too, like, we glorify everybody too much. That's why we're really big into superhero movies. You know what I mean? And I'm very happy to see some of the latest superhero movies actually created some dimensionality to like these mythos, right? But like we're all about it. We're all about winners. That's why underdog stories do really, really, really well in America. We're like this, like people who start from the bottom, now they're here kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like what I'm trying to propose is like, now we're at the bottom, but it's okay. Like life's all right down here. You know, like I don't have to go on the top. You know, it's cool. Like I'm happy just living my life, being cool with everybody. I don't think it's just not as interesting of a story to be like, oh, complacency is fine. You know, it's okay if you just like live a normal 9 to 5 lifestyle.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to my good friend who he's also a really great artist. He's actually one of the best in the industry, and we were him and my daughter and his daughter are really good friends, and we were hanging out one time at a play date, and we were just talking, and he's like, yeah, you know, when I went home, back home to Utah, where my brothers and sisters are at, and we were just hanging out, and he's like it was kind of weird, man. Like my brothers, like they hate their jobs, you know, they just hate them.
Yeah.
They have to show up at 9 and then they leave at 5, like on the dot. You know, they show up maybe a little later, like 9:05, 9:10 or something, or 9:10, and then when it's 5, like they fucking out the door. You
Mhm.
know, and then they go home, and he said like they go home, they play with their kids, they do like little league stuff, and they do all this like family activities, they do barbecue with their neighbors. It's like this really community based lifestyle, but they hate their jobs. They hate it. They hate their like going in and clocking in and do all the stupid stuff. And he's like, but then I look at us, like you and me, we have like the opposite, right? Where we love our job. We like go in, we show up early, we paint and do all this cool stuff, and then we like stay overtime. You know, my classes, for instance, are also only supposed to be like like 2 hours maximum. But I always go over because I like teaching you guys and like trying to help you guys out. I enjoy this, you know. And he's like, but he was making a point that I agreed with. He's like, but we enjoy it too much. We don't have like an 8 hour shift. We have like 12 hour shifts, and it's not because our work keeps us there. Usually, sometimes it's just because we want to be there, right? And it's like
Yeah.
we have to kind of fight against that. And he's like, it's something I've been working on. You know, he was telling me about it because he's like, I was like, because I care about my daughter. I want to be around and hang out with her. But like, I'm just so into art. You know, I'm just like constantly making art. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. And I thought about this too. I was like, maybe I need to start making a like for instance, having my dog is a good strategy because my kids and I, we all hang out with the dog, and we all love the dog, and the dog loves us, and that's a good thing. Like we can go to the park and they all run around. It's a great thing. You know, the dog's like a blessing. But I need to find other ways, you know. But it's like you said, and what I'm trying to get at to you guys is try to avoid these cultural traps that you've been fed your whole life. You know, I'm no different. I'm not saying that I'm immune to this stuff. Like, let me just show you, like, let me explain it to you this way. And I'm not sure if this is true in Sweden or even in Nina, where are you again? Where are you at again? I forget.
What was the question? Sorry.
She's just zoned out. What country? What country are you residing
Poland.
in? Poland. Okay,
Poland.
so I'm not sure if it's true for you guys, but like we have like Amazon, right? And we use Amazon for like everything, like even like getting groceries, right? Like how much do you guys use something like Amazon or like Postmates or DoorDash, which is like things just get delivered to your door, from food to groceries and all that good stuff?
Not so
I
much.
use Amazon only to import art books from United States.
Okay.
That's all.
So this is what I expected. Yeah, you know. So for my American, you know, colleagues, like we probably use these things daily, right? And one of the things, especially if you have the money to spend, right? And one of the points I'm trying to make here is that like we are so spoiled, right? And we're also built like so accustomed to this lifestyle. So like I know that Amazon like screws over mom and pop shops. Like I know they do. I've seen it happen in my small town, right? And I'm like, still got to get the kids some socks. You know, like socks, dude. You know, like nothing like something I could just go to the store and grab, you know, like fucking socks. I'm like, nah, I can get that delivered. You know? And it's like hard. Like I'm trying to say I'm not immune to this. I'm trying to say that I'm actively fighting against this. You know? And I find that if you do, you do really well in other places like concept, lifestyle stuff. You know, it's just good stuff. It's just we're just not taught it. It's one thing that I'm really fighting for too is to get art on the map again. Like I think people look at art as something that is like an elective, not like an actual, not an actual skill that we should also look at a higher playing field. You know, because we all engage in art in some way, some shape and form, right? Whether it's movies, TV shows, games, right? Books, all these types of things, right? And if you even think of it on a level of like, if you think about it on a level like indigenous tribes even do art, you know what I mean? Like even from the like early
Totally.
cave paintings, like it's like built into us. So this idea that like, yeah, well, let's not put any skill or put any like economic points into art as a real thing is fucking, I think, is idiotic. You know, like when I hear like art programs being defunded, I'm like, y'all are stupid.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, just a second. What? Okay, I'm almost done my class. Just give me a second. Actually, I'll do it right now. Oh wait. But anyway, I'll take on one more question, if there is any, and then I'll let you guys go. My internet's been really slow.
I need to take Logan. I can't find his backpack. Where did you put it yesterday?
It was in the garage. It was on top of the shoes, but I don't know if Edith moved it, maybe. And she's not here for you to yell at her. Stop jumping around, you weirdo. You little weirdo. Any other questions while I'm about to print this out for my son?
All right, I'm going. I was looking into. I was looking the other day into VFX and like how people did it and all that because I was like really curious because it's very different from like what I'm used to seeing.
Wait, say it one more time.
I was just looking into VFX.
Oh, okay.
So, like, yeah, and one thing that kept popping up on like when I was looking at like how people do this, they're all saying like, oh yeah, just read the manual. That's like a custom thing. I read the manual, and I was like, really? Like, is it that straightforward? It's just like, oh yeah, just do this thing here, and it'll just just happen.
Yeah, I will say. Hold on, just a second. Julian, you got to turn on the printer. The printer is off. I will say that like visual effects is one of those things that not only is it like wait, hold on, what's going on here? It's not only one of those things that like that I do believe that there's like a manual. You know, but like it's like there's like very limited resources and there's very limited people who do it. There's not too many people, man. Yeah. Right now we're in the middle of hiring people, and top of my list is actually visual effects artist. You know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that like people just don't realize that it's not so much that just reading the manual. It's like there's very few resources, and it's like one of the most important aspects of anything, from movies to video games, right? And I think partly the reason why visual effects usually has a harder turnover too is that when people do get into it, it's like heavily math based, or more math based than you would realize. You know? And so then it doesn't feel artistic in some regards. Like some of the best visual effects artists are also really good about maneuvering with numbers, you know? And those who are on the graphics end even are even more about numbers and math, like graphic engineers, you know?
Yeah, so it's way more technical.
It's a little bit more technical than you would expect. And I think that's part of the reason too. I think it's like there's not enough resources, and it's also more technical than I think people are prepared for. But anyway.
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised with that. I was like, really? So you're telling me like if I just read this book, I can like go work at Marvel right now? Like, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I might have to go sort this out. But anyways, yeah, it looks like it's not turning on. But I just checked the printer. Oh, but now I got 2 pending. Here, let's cancel this. Let's restart. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, son, hold on. Any final questions before I head out and send you guys off into the world? Well, listen, folks, it's been a pleasure. It's been a great honor. Appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Stay focused. Stay persistent. Don't be strangers. And, you know, I hope you guys are the best. And be safe during these crazy times, y'all. And with all that being said, thanks for taking the class. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your year. And cheers. Talk to you later.
Totally, man.
Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Peace out, friends.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.